behind a closed door. Well, yeah. We had a wide-ranging discussion.
Next question, prochaine question.
Bonjour, Monsieur Carney. Michel.
Hello, Mr. Carney, Presse Canadienne. I'm going to try to move forward in relation to Melanie's question. Are you coming away from this meeting with anything tangible in terms of tariffs or trade? Well, as I said a few days ago, I was not expecting that there would be any white smoke, because these are negotiations, as I just said. They're very complex. There are a lot of different aspects to these negotiations, but we did make progress. We had very comprehensive, tangible exchanges of views, and there will be additional meetings between ministers and officials, and also between the President and myself, through various calls, and in Alberta in the middle of June. So we have made progress. But as is always the case with trade negotiations, any trade negotiations, there is a process and then the end. And not necessarily apparent progress during the process. That's the nature of negotiations.
To summarize, look, in a negotiation, you don't get like little elements of it. You get an end to a negotiation. We're having a very complex negotiation about a wide range of issues. And it's, as I said before I came here, I wouldn't have expected white smoke coming out of this meeting. That was not my expectation, because of the nature of the negotiation. So you don't expect to have specific progress as things move along, even when you're making progress, because it's a global, that's why it's a global negotiation.
Parlant de l'Alberta, que pensez-vous de
relation to
Daniel
Alberta,
Smith
what do you
d'encourager
think of
la
Daniel Smith's idea about holding a referendum on Alberta's sovereignty? Well, Canada is stronger when we all work together as Canadians, and I'm an Albertan. I deeply believe in Canada, and one may have questions about this, but my answer is clear.
Canada's stronger when we work together. As an Albertan, I firmly believe that. You can always ask a question, but I know what I would respond clearly.
Prochaine question, next question.
Bonjour, Monsieur Carney.
Hello, Mr. Carney, TVA. Did Mr. Trump convince you that he does want to renegotiate the free trade agreement? Because it didn't seem clear in the Oval Office. Yes, it was clear. Well, it's clear. Well, we began the renegotiation of our trading relationship today, including NAFTA. You've said a number of times that in your opinion, Mr. Trump wanted to break us in order to own us. Is that still your reading of his intentions after today's meeting? Well, we are strong. Canada is becoming stronger and stronger day after day, week after week, with the new government in place. So I think he'll be disappointed.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. JP Tasker, CBC News. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, JP. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Do you feel better or worse about Canada-U.S. relations after meeting with the President today?
Look, it was a very constructive meeting. I feel better about the relations in the sense of, in many respects, one, the posture, if I can put it that way, or the positioning the President took towards us. Secondly, the breadth of discussion and how concrete the discussions were. These are the discussions you have when you're looking to find solutions, as opposed to laying down terms, if you will. So feel better about that. And I would add one other thing, which maybe isn't as obvious, so I should say it, which is that we also discussed a number of issues globally, geostrategically, if I can put it that way, where we have common interests, common concerns. And that, of course, is a sign of a broader and very healthy, a healthy relationship. Look, we have a lot more work to do. I'm not trying to suggest at any respect that we can have one meeting and everything's changed, but now we are engaged and very fully engaged.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister Ashley Burke, CBC News. What specifically did you say to President Trump about lifting tariffs on Canada? And based on your conversations, what do you think it would take to get those tariffs lifted, and how long could it take?
Well, I can't answer the second part of your question because we don't make that decision. But certainly press the case in a number of areas where we think the tariffs should be lifted. And specifically, I'll give an example with respect to the scourge of fentanyl and the efforts, the considerable efforts that have been made at our border and behind the border in terms of raids as well. Huge investments in border personnel, in drone surveillance, Black Hawk surveillance, and then those are being reinforced, as you would have seen during the campaign, commitments to another 2,000 in effect, 1,000 border guards through CBSA, another 1,000 RCMP, further efforts there. And what we're seeing is huge results for this. Canada's contribution to this problem, cross-border problem, was always very small, but it's down by over 90% with the efforts. And it is an absolute focus of the government. So that is an example of where we would see the case being very strong for the tariffs to be removed. We've made that case. We'll see where that goes. In other areas, the tariffs are, in our view, not in the interests of American competitiveness and jobs. We have more work to do on making those cases on that. Thank you. Pardon? Sur le fentanyl,
On fentanyl,
nous avons fait beaucoup de progrès.
well, we've made a lot of progress when it comes to fentanyl.
On a commencé avec un niveau très
We
bas.
started with a very low level compared to Mexico, less than 1%, but we've seen a dramatic drop in the amount of fentanyl that is crossing the border. It's 0.1% now. But that's not by accident. It's because we invested a great deal in the security of our border, and my government will be investing 20% more when it comes to border agents and RCMP. So in terms of lifting the tariffs, I think we have very strong arguments at this time.
Hi, Prime Minister Stephanie Taylor with the National Post. I heard you say, there is a difference between the President's comments around Canada becoming a 51st state as a wish versus a reality. You told him that Canada was not for sale. But many Canadians are offended and deeply angered by the fact that he keeps repeating this comment. So have you asked the President to stop calling Canada the 51st state?
Yes. Today.
Okay, specifically, what did you ask him?
Exactly what you just said.
What words did you use? How did you ask him?
Look, I gave you an answer. Do you have a follow-up?
En français. What was his answer?
Well, look, I don't know. He's the President. He's his own person. I would go back to showing the difference between a wish and a reality. We're very clear. I've been very clear publicly, consistently. I've been very clear in private. It was clear again in the Oval Office. Would be clear throughout. The President, he understands that we're having a negotiation between sovereign nations and that we will only pursue and accept a deal that's in the best interests of Canada, not just in the short term, but in the medium and long term for Canada.
For you to be repeating that idea. I said that to him, but he's the President.